Hello everyone, dear family members. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the grace of heaven and the virtues of teachers, the boundless grace of the wonderful ultimate great emperor, the great merits of the great heavenly pivot, as well as the devoted cultivation from all the predecessors and all the teachers. This allows me today to have this opportunity, and allows us today to continue the sharing from last time. It is to let us always think, and how much time do we actually have that we can use? In fact, we really cannot control it. Besides, there is actually a saying, before, subtract the young age, after, subtract the old age. In the middle, our time and lifespan are really not much. Why? Because there are also some worries and annoyances, which are these difficulties and troubles. So, life, is it real or not real? It is very illusory. But can we escape it? Can we, just because this difficulty makes us very afraid, say, I just won't face it? Can we not face it? We must face it. But not only face it, we must also actively face it, pioneer our life, let it continuously add value and increase. So, today as practitioners of the Tao, what things can we do? So, that is to say, each of us has a piece of sky above our head, waiting for you to pioneer it, waiting for you to develop it. As long as you are willing to develop it, in the future it will all bloom and bear fruit. So God is certainly compassionate. Those who are willing to pioneer, in the days to come will have a piece of Tao field. Those who are willing to be proactive, everywhere are opportunities. Those who are willing to give, their value is infinite. So we must dare to think. Because this piece of heaven and earth is waiting for us to display our talents freely, waiting for us to sow seeds. But will it be bitter? Actually, it is not bitter. Why? Because we have direction, we have goals, we have courage, so naturally we won't feel it is very bitter. So, roads are walked out by people. Any road that anyone walks, in fact, at that moment, if you put your heart into it and are willing to give, the road you walk out will be a broad avenue. So, on this path, whether steady and smooth, it is also cultivating the Tao, advancing and retreating, it is also cultivating the Tao. Actively striving and accepting tests, that is also cultivating the Tao. Continuously pioneering and facing difficulties, that is also growth. And in the Tao field, as a cadre, we actually need to continuously develop, to be heaven's capable right and left hands. We each need to measure our own time, because now we are cultivating both the sacred and the mundane. We have both sacred undertakings and mundane undertakings. We need to arrange our next steps. Whether we can or cannot actually depends on whom? On ourselves, whether we are willing to bear it. If we are willing to bear it, then actually the future is a vast sky. So, right now, or after tomorrow, we must think carefully about how we are going to pioneer our own path, our own future. Heaven actually wants us to realize this, not just feel moved, but to take immediate action. Next, I would like to report to everyone about this win-win. Actually, regarding the win-win part, that is to say, look at this character win, it has several aspects, right? It has several aspects. Let's take a look at this Chinese character. If we break it down, the respective meanings are, one parish, one mouth, one moon, one shell, one ordinary. The meaning of these broken down characters is to remind us to always cultivate a sense of crisis. Sense of crisis means that for every single thing, not because in our daily life some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, Some people are born gritting their teeth in hardship, right? But no matter what kind of birth we have, in all aspects of life we must always maintain and cultivate what? A sense of crisis. Only then can we win the direction we want. The first one is mouth, which means we need to make use of opportunities for two-way communication. Because between people, how should it be? It must be two-way communication, otherwise, what happens? We quarrel, things like that. So we need to know how to listen to what others say, take this opportunity to communicate it well, to do it well. Then the next one is that we need to make good use of time. Next, we need to practice it personally. To do it, we must do it. Otherwise, if time is wasted, then it's useless, right? Then the next one is to reserve our chips, which are our abilities and our conditions. Why? Because if you have chips, you have abilities and conditions, only then can you cope with all kinds of things, right? Because everyone will encounter different difficulties. If you want to solve them, you must have those chips yourself, only then can you cope. Then next, no matter what difficulties we encounter, no matter whether there is success or failure, we must maintain an ordinary mind. This ordinary mind is very important, very important. That is to say, because for anything, if we can maintain an ordinary heart, naturally we can continue on, continue doing it, continue persisting. The above is an explanation of the 5 aspects of the character win. As for win-win, I quote a saying from the sages, the Tao does not depart from others. Because when we interact with sentient beings, with those close to us, we need to know how to benefit others, right? So it is what? The highest realm of benefiting oneself. So it is not that one would receive different or bad treatment, no, rather, when you know how to benefit others, in turn, who receives the greatest harvest? Who? It is ourselves. So all the benefits that all people use, thinking for others, being kind to others, caring for others, this altruistic nature is something very important, to benefit others, think for others, be kind to others, care for others. But the key is we still need to do one thing, we must suppress the selfish heart. Because we humans are all selfish. If a person does not work for himself, how can that be? It is the same for everyone. We all think about what benefit this thing has for me, what it is like for me. Actually, to a greater or lesser extent, we all have this kind of selfish concept arise. If we can suppress, however, much of the selfish heart, actually it is like a mirror, correspondingly, that much altruistic heart will manifest. Oh. So the more we can suppress our own selfish heart, actually the more it will reflect altruistic heart. This is mutually complementary. Next, our altruistic heart of caring for others is something we need to strive to promote. Actually, it is very difficult, very difficult. Why? Because as long as we can suppress the power of the selfish heart, the altruistic heart will naturally manifest itself. So, for ordinary people, because of today's society, this heart of caring for others seems to be getting less and less, less and less. Although living next door, living across from each other, actually it seems like there is no interaction at all, no talking, not like in the past agricultural era where relatives and friends all lived together and so on. Now it is different. So this matter is the same, we need to constantly overcome it, only then will this altruistic heart manifest. As long as what? To whatever extent we suppress this selfish heart, to that extent what will arise? Altruistic heart. How to generate it? We need to suppress this selfish heart, which means in our life, how? Constantly reflect, maintain humility, constantly reflect, maintain humility. The key point is still to be content. The so-called contentment brings constant joy. Contentment brings constant joy. So, as our Master Zhang said, I reflect on myself 3 times daily. Have I been loyal in planning for others? Have I been trustworthy in interacting with friends? Have I practiced what has been transmitted to me? So actually, every person, every day, needs to reflect on themselves, maintain humility. Naturally they can have contentment and constant joy. Then, since we need to do it, actually we need to learn to proactively care for strangers. Why? Because as mentioned earlier, nowadays everyone tends to care more about themselves, more selfish, towards some strangers and so on. They are more afraid to help others, seeming afraid of being misunderstood or something like that. Actually, sometimes we do encounter good people and good deeds, not necessarily that if we go help and care, something bad will happen. So we need to learn, since we want to benefit others, we need to proactively care for strangers. Then next, if we have an altruistic heart, what happens? It broadens our vision. Oh, why? Sometimes making one friend is like what? Reading one book. Among your different friends, on different people's bodies, actually we can broaden our own vision. Some people are very good at analysis, some are very good at planning travel, some are good at mountaineering, some have dabbled in various different interests. Actually, this also allows us to see our horizons. When we chat with them, interact with them, actually invisibly it is the same, it increases our horizons, that is to say, lets us understand a certain country we have never been to, through this person's sharing. Originally this country is so good like that, letting us all understand it. Then next, for some things we originally didn't know how to do, through this person's sharing, friends sharing, or saying originally this thing, I thought about it for a long time, wanted to learn it, but I didn't dare, didn't have that courage. But through his sharing, through when we help others and share with them in that way, we understand, originally it is so simple. Then I will also go learn it and see. So benefiting others equals win-win. So don't be afraid to help others, benefiting others is truly win-win. Next, what we talked about today, we have altruistic heart, resonate with others on the same frequency. Next, that is to say, we need to pioneer. To pioneer, first we need to have a direction. Why does pioneering first require a direction to achieve win-win? The key to cultivating this win-win is that we need to have strategy, need to have ideas on how to do it, how to carry it out. I quote a story, there was a person named Robin, in 1990. Robin talked about deciding to implement basic and long-term goals and purposes, in this process, or the allocation behavior of resources needed to achieve this goal. What did he mention about strategy? Actually, his strategy is to first make a decision, that is, decide a direction, and then implement it. Then how to do it? Start from the basics, then set long-term goals. So short-term, medium-term, long-term goals all set well. Then in this, there must be a purpose and a direction. Then with this purpose and direction, in such a process, next is to realize our ultimate, greatest goal, the required resources. Because to do one thing, there must be direction, must have resources. Just like you have a car, how can you make the car start? Must have gasoline. Or like now there are electric cars, then need electricity, these are its resources. But how you allocate the resources, this is very important. Why? Because if allocation is uneven, or too much or too little, neither is right. That is, we need to learn how to use this strategy. Let us allocate these resources better, even let others share, just like the win-win we talked about earlier. Next, another story. Tang Mingzhi in 2003 proposed strategy, that is, deciding the long-term goals of enterprise groups, then taking action, and here it talks about how to allocate resources to achieve the goals. That is, a group to walk long, endure long, go far, just like today we in the Buddha Hall, in the Tao field, the same in cultivating and propagating the Tao. Actually, for a Tao field to walk long, endure long, go far, must rely on allocating resources to achieve the goals. So look, today in our Tao field, actually there are different fields, different courses to learn one by one principles and so on, or talents and arts. Then where do these resources come from? From volunteers in different fields or different places. What does the Tao field need to do? Is to integrate these volunteers, then allocate, naturally can share the core philosophy of the Tao field, achieve our ultimate goal, the greatest vision of the Tao field, the greatest goal of propagating the Tao affairs throughout the 10,000 nations and 9 continents. Next, I quote from Strategy Management and Administrative Management Techniques, there is a person named Mintzberg. One of his asserted strategies, the 5 Ps. The 5 Ps, the first one is plan. This emphasizes what? The futurity of strategy and directionality. Mintzberg believes that strategy actually is a guide for the future, or can be set an action guideline. So must first have plan, have action, only then can you implement, carry through your goals and direction. Next, in strategy, pattern refers to pattern, further refers to action pattern. He emphasizes the actual performance of strategy. He believes that strategy is a habitual action pattern, need long-term action to carry it out. But it is not saying do randomly, or use flashy ways, it has a fixed pattern to execute, to replicate different templates and directions. Just like today our Tao field has 10 major administrative works, correspondingly there are different patterns, letting different talents exert, to implement. Next, the third strategy is position actually emphasizes the uniqueness and value of strategy, believes that strategy is executing a positioning behavior that is different from competitors and effective. Oh. So, to do one thing today, there must be positioning. Just like all you esteemed predecessors, today in the Tao field as we cultivate and propagate the Tao, we also need to have our own positioning, see which part you are good at. Some people are good at cooking in the kitchen, some exert themselves in different fields. So this is your value and your uniqueness, because this is your specialty. This is also a very good direction that allows us to exert ourselves. Because the Tao field provides us with a platform, and if we position ourselves well, naturally when we go do it, there will be very many opportunities to accumulate merits and virtues. The fourth strategy is perspective. This emphasizes what? How we view ourselves in the world. What are our core values and beliefs? Perspective is looking inward, looking at what? Looking at the mind and thoughts of the strategy formulator. That is to say, actually we think, just like the sages, we need to look inward, reflect upon ourselves. Today, as we cultivate and propagate the Tao the same way, we need to reflect upon ourselves. Actually, for many things, we need to constantly review, constantly think. From this strategy formulation, actually you can see a strategy formulator's macroscopic direction. Just like today we in the Buddha Hall, in such a Tao field cultivating and propagating, we can see the future of the Tao field. It can be seen as long-lasting, enduring, far-reaching future. Then we can understand that actually heaven is very far-sighted, has very great vision, letting us on the path of cultivating and propagating. We won't be afraid. So, as long as we follow this team to walk, follow the Tao field's short-term, medium-term, long-term strategies to learn and exert, naturally in the future no matter what we go do, you won't be afraid. Naturally you can broaden your vision, not using human eyes to look at these things, but using what? Using God's eyes, the immortals and Buddha's eyes to look at these things. Next, the fifth strategy is a kind of ploy. Of course, this emphasizes the competitiveness of strategy, believing that strategy is a kind of tactic to try to defeat the enemy. Of course, today in our cultivating and propagating, of course it is also a kind of competition, right? But ours is benign competition, for the sake of ferrying sentient beings across, for the Tao field a very benign kind of competition. But we need to try to defeat the enemy. Esteemed predecessors, may I ask what to defeat? Which enemy? Actually, it is to defeat our own inner self, this enemy. When we have fear, terror, awe, or procrastination, laziness and so on, such thoughts and thinking, not bearing the responsibilities of the Tao field, we must break away from these bad habits, naturally defeat this inner enemy. This is a kind of strategy. So actually, this is also to let us constantly remind ourselves, in this cultivating and propagating, actually you need to have confidence. As long as you have confidence, constantly, then on the path of cultivating and propagating the Tao, you will have direction, you will have courage, you will have wisdom. Having introduced these several directions above, I will make a conclusion. So today's theme is the strategy of co-creating win-win. How to co-create win-win. I quote a book called Summoning Courage Brené Brown. She talks about 7 behaviors that form trust. Actually, in today's strategy of co-creating win-win, it is to have trust. Trust is very important. Next is boundaries. Boundaries are also very important. That is, I respect your boundaries. When I am not sure where your boundaries are, I need to open my mouth and ask. Just like, esteemed predecessors, in our Buddha Hall we have a saying, what is it? If there is doubt, must ask, if asked, must answer. That is to say, if you have any question, any doubt, don't keep it in your heart, you need to what? Ask it out, inquire, seek answers. This way you won't how? Develop doubts toward this group, toward this Tao. So need to constantly inquire, constantly understand, naturally you will have more and more confidence. Next is reliability. In all things, must do what you say, words and actions consistent. When we realize our own abilities and limits may not meet what others require, the thing they want us to help with absolutely do not what? Promise something you cannot do. Then must what? Fulfill your own promises. This way you can become a reliable person. Just like, esteemed predecessors, when we go to the bank for a loan, there is one kind called what? Credit loan, right? So people need to have credit. Today we must do what we say, keep our promises to heaven, to this group, one promise, to others, one promise. Absolutely do not say flashy, empty talk, become a reliable person. Then the third point is called accountability. That is, you need to admit your own mistakes, apologize, and make what? Remedies. So actually today, since we did something wrong, we need to learn what? Sorry, this matter is my negligence, thinking that I did not do well. Then next time when encountering such things, I will quickly make it more perfect, better consideration, then make this matter complete, make a remedy. So this is a kind of bearing, also you learning to bear this responsibility, a very good habit. The fourth is called confidentiality. That is to say, you won't leak out information or matters that shouldn't be leaked. You won't tell my secrets, nor will you tell me others' secrets. Actually, this confidentiality is very important. Especially today in this group of ours, actually confidentiality is a kind of respect toward others. When others sometimes share some family matters, because we in this Tao field, in this group, actually there are no interest conflicts, they will casually say some more private matters and so on to us. But we absolutely cannot pass it by word of mouth. Oh, must keep this secret. Even if the person didn't remind us that this matter you cannot say out, but we still need to respect others. Especially what? Need to know to conceal evil and promote good. If really need to speak, speak the good things, don't speak the bad things. This is a very important habit. Then the fifth one is integrity. You choose courage rather than comfort. You choose to do what? The right things, rather than saying what is fun, quick success, or easy things. You choose to implement your values rather than just talking about them with your mouth. So, look at how we say it today. We need to leave our own comfort zone, because we humans all like to hide in the comfort zone. Then, when facing some difficulties and so on, or things that are effortful but not rewarding, how? We all avoid them, right? But actually, we must constantly how? Understand that you need to jump out of your comfort zone. This way, you can continuously grow and cultivate your integrity. You choose to implement values, to do things while keeping promises. It won't be that because the matter might be disadvantageous and so on, the selfish heart and so on comes out, values also change. Naturally, over time, people will have no confidence in you, will feel this person has no integrity, won't dare to entrust you with some things anymore. The sixth one is non-judgment. That is to say, we can talk about our own feelings without judgment, and we can also request mutual assistance without judgment. Actually, today in the group, in this joint learning, actually when you talk about your own feelings, absolutely do not bring accusatory or judgmental tone, treat it as a kind of sharing, purely sharing oral content is fine. Then, if today we need to request others' help and so on, actually how should it be? Use without judgment, use sorry, may I ask, do you have time? Can you help me with one thing, and so on? Actually, this is a kind of respect. Actually, non-judgment is also a kind of respect. Then the last one is generosity, generosity. Why? Actually, every person has his own ideas, every person has his different opinions. What to do? We need to know how to use a tolerant and generous heart. This is also the most important. Why? Because actually today we can jointly come to learn, can co-create win-win, can win-win, and need to give for this group, for this team to complete various goals, complete this group's work. Actually, the key point is that between people, between fellow cultivators, the most important is this generosity. Then what do we need to be generous about? Each person's intentions may come from different families, will have different ideas, will have different opinions, will have different suggestions because it may be toward us as well, toward this matter as well, toward this group as well, or toward some person as well, will have such different opinions. Then of course we need to learn to be inclusive. Why? Because he may not understand very well the group, the things we are doing not very clear. So naturally there will be some different ideas, opinions, or he will have some different approaches, produce different words and so on. Then we need to learn to include him. The above is my report for today. Actually, that is to say, today in this so-called strategy of co-creating win-win, actually the key point is that every person needs to go learn, all need to have an inclusive heart, all need to learn different things, need to have this courage. Every person has different concepts, we need to be able to include people with different concepts. This way, no matter in working together with others, you can then make some things complete and perfect, no matter toward superiors, or peers, or toward subordinates, in different such generations or levels. This way we can become one that lets others feel we have integrity, very reliable, naturally willing to entrust us with some things, some responsibilities, some very important things. Today I share with everyone up to here. Finally, thank you very much everyone for listening. Thank you everyone.